Movie 16 on the road to 1,000 films is The Long Walk, Stephen King adaptation. I've read a few Stephen King books over the years. The Dark Tower series was big for me in high school. The last three books in that series came out while I was reading them, which is really cool. I still think the fourth one, Wizard and Glass, like the initial book, just the Dark Tower book itself, is the first one called The Dark Tower? I don't remember. It's been such a long time. I'm getting so old. But the first book is really good. And then the fourth book, Wizard and Glass, is amazing. It has this great backstory that's just incredible. Maybe I hope it holds up when I reread it at some point, but it's definitely my favorite thing Stephen King has done, and that series still kind of lives rent-free in my head. I read The Stand, and that kind of broke me from Stephen King for a long time. That book's so full of so much going on. It's like 1,300 pages, and it goes places, has a lot going on, but is also like rough in ways. And I haven't read a Stephen King book since. I'll read it at some point, but I like Stephen King stuff, but also get a little tired of Stephen King stuff in some ways. So I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about The Long Walk. And then you see all the positive reviews, like person after person after person who is seeing this at festivals or early access screening, just raving about the movie, which I'm a little doubtful of Lionsgate products at this point. For the last few years, I'd see a Lionsgate film and be like, oh no. But I wonder if Lionsgate's making a turnaround, because this was genuinely a strong film, and the cast is just so dynamic. Cooper Hoffman and David Janssen just crush it. Like, this is a star turning. I know David Janssen. People have been on him since Romulus, and then you have the early adopters from industry just being like, "This kid's gonna be great." But it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know, you see somebody early on and you just know that they have the it factor and they're going to be one of the next generation of stars. And David Janssen just has it. So I was excited after Romulus just to see what else he was doing. Cooper Hoffman isn't somebody that I've seen in a lot aside from Saturday Night. And he was good in that, but had such a minor part. He stood out in this so incredibly well. Like the entire cast. If there was an Oscar for ensemble cast, I would give it to The Long Walk cast. The movie itself, strong, good. Dialogue heavy. You get a lot of walking, which seemed like they really had to walk. I was seeing some Cooper Hoffman interviews, and he was saying, yeah, we're just walking like 15 miles a day. And you think about it, it's one of those things you can't really fake. They have to be moving. And because it's scenery that you're seeing, it can't just be a sets in a stage, right? They're out on these roads and they have to be showing progress. So maybe it's my old age, something that maybe I keep talking about it, is the midlife crisis starting. But I have started finding myself more and more drawn to practical effects in films. I'm a little burnt out by CGI, and I feel bad in some ways when I say that, because there are so many talented people that work on the CGI side of film, and it has been a huge boon to the industry. They're like tremendous. Like, I lose my mind trying to think of how you even begin to program the things that they do. So I'm not in any way a CGI hater, but I love practical. And there's part of me that would much rather watch people walking down the road than watch Ready Player One. I watch Ready Player One and I don't feel anything. Like, I can appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into the CGI, but it doesn't wow me in the way that The Long Walk kind of draws me in and wows me. Same thing with something like Civil War. I didn't love Civil War in terms of just like the story, but I really appreciated the scene by scene, like being in it and the filmmaking of it. It leaves me with that sense of, wow, how did they film this? Like, so much effort had to go into this. That's one of the things you watch Lawrence of Arabia. It's just like, they filmed it. They went to places and they filmed this. And they got all these people to be in a desert and they filmed this. they filmed this. Maybe they were using soundstage, I don't know, but they filmed that. It's just an incredible movie in that way, and I really appreciate that aspect of film. So The Long Walk has that, and it has that in spades. The cast crushes it. The story's dynamic. You kind of know where it's going. Like, you can assume you know where it's going. There was nothing that surprised me along the way where I was just like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like, you're assuming like, oh, it's gonna be this, and then it's just that. I checked the ending of the book versus the ending of the movie, and two very different endings. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm gonna try to keep the reviews less spoilery than what I normally do. But the ending is very different and probably stronger. The same thing happened when I read the ending to, what's the one in the grocery store that Stephen King also wrote that story, The Mist? Like, the ending to The Mist, Stephen King story is okay, but the movie version is so much stronger. I think even Stephen King himself said that. And it's the same thing with The Long Walk. The ending is a little abrupt and a little strange, especially with how one of the last characters falls out. It's just like, okay, that was incredibly anticlimactic. And then it has almost a fantastical, doesn't solve anything or conclude anything final paragraph that leaves you just kind of being like, that's it. But the movie, a lot more satisfying in the ending, but still, like, there's a lot I think that it opens up in terms of conversation, which I think I might do another video just kind of talking about the end a little bit for anybody that wants to check that out. But overall, like, strong. The direction's good. I liked that JT Molnar wrote the screenplay is getting a little bit more shine, and that this movie is done so well. You know, there's been so many Stephen King adaptations over the years. Some are good, some are bad. And JT crushed it with this one. Strange Darling was another movie that came out in 2024, but it technically released in 2023, I think, that he wrote and directed. And it was really dynamic, like very different, like temporal style of a like serial killer slash horror slash cat and mouse thriller kind of film that was very daring in a lot of ways and had great performances. So it feels like Molnar really understands giving characters moments, whether he's writing or directing, especially in this film where he gives all these characters. And granted, Stephen King, it's Stephen King's writing, and he really understands characters as well. So Molnar had a good foundation, but I mean, for a film that's just people walking, you get all these micro narratives throughout that have momentum continuously going forward, where it never feels like it bogs down. It just marches on and in a good way. I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of sighing at my own pun. Is this the start of my dad joke era now that I have a 3-month-old? She's just kind of on the monitor here as I make this at 2 a.m. But good movie. I think it's going to be one that people watch for a long time and reference for a long time. And it's just like, oh, you haven't seen The Long Walk? Let's watch that. I think it's going to be one that people in college, like, they'll reach college age, right? And you'll get to college. You'll have some friends that like movies. Maybe you haven't seen a lot of movies, and a friend's going to be like, wait, you haven't seen The Long Walk? Oh, we're going to watch The Long Walk tonight. And you watch it and you're like, whoa, cool. Like, it's not like up there with Seven, right? But it's in that category of movie where if you find out somebody hasn't watched it, you're probably going to make them watch it. So it's cool to have another one of those kinds of movies come out. And I think this will be in a lot of people's like top 10 for the year, top 15 for the year, just because it's that movie that has a really high floor. The ceiling will shift for people. I think for me, it was a little lower on the ceiling just because maybe I wanted a little more world building than what we got, but the floor was incredibly high. And for that, it's one of the most satisfying movies that I've watched in 2025. But it's been a bleak year so far. So maybe some of the hype coming out of TIFF and Venice, we have some good movies ahead of us, fingers crossed, but this definitely feels like maybe a turning point in the year and the quality of movies that we're getting. So gets a recommend from me. In my rankings, which I had it considered until this very moment, and I'm stalling as I look up my own ranking system, I think I'm putting it in the enjoyable tier. Maybe impressive, maybe enjoyable. So enjoyable is like a 7 out of 10 for me. So it's somewhere between like a 7 and an 8, maybe a 7.5. But we'll put it there, which would put it in my top 10 for the year. So it's got that going for it. That's all for this one. Until next time, lights, camera. See ya.